This is the Alex Medina Law Podcast. Practical insights into the world of civil litigation.
So what would you say the top mistakes that most lawyers make are?
It's just the fear or aversion to, or whatever you want to call it, just the inability to proofread properly. There are hilarious stories all around the internet of documents that have been filed with the court where a lawyer wrote something and there's one letter missing, and sometimes they're profane, sometimes they're innocuous, but they're often very funny, or at least just completely nonsensical. And it's amazing to me that with spell check, that there are still basic typographical errors that are made in documents that go to the court. And it's not just substantive things that are important. Obviously, you don't want to get something wrong, but it's also about your image. And I really believe that in law, in litigation, and in life, that, and this is trite, but you really don't get a second chance to make a first impression, especially with a judge, especially with an opposing counsel. As lawyers, we're not in court as much as TV and the movies portray it that we are. It just doesn't happen as much. We are a society, in terms of the law, a society that really runs on paper, and really virtual paper these days. And so the majority of what you do, the vast majority of what we do is the written product. Whether it's an email, whether it's a letter, whether it's a brief, it's writing, and that's how we are evaluated. So even if you're in a hurry, I'm not saying you have to be completely formal, and we've all seen those things from lawyers, and that's one of the reasons why lawyers get made fun of, and justifiably so. It's that stilted, lawyerly legalese that has a lot of commas and passive voice and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is you can be informal, but you can still be a good writer. You can still proofread your work. It doesn't take you long to go back and reread what you wrote. And I think that in terms of projecting your image as somebody that can be trusted, that's ultimately what a client wants from his or her lawyer, is to trust that person. They are saying, I have a problem that's beyond me. If I could have handled it myself, I would have. But I have to go to somebody with greater training and greater expertise than me. It's like any problem. If you try to fix something at your house, you can go up into your own ability. Let's use, an issue with your sink. You can do the best you can, but if you're not a trained plumber, at some point you might need to call a plumber, like when the sink falls off the wall and water is flooding into your house. It's the same thing with a lawyer. So a client is relying on his or her lawyer to be someone that they can trust, someone that is hopefully the smartest person in the room, the most rational person in the room, the most level-headed, and also the most persuasive. And all those things that you want when you're a lawyer, to be trusted, to be respected, you can build up your whole reputation outside in another case, out in the legal community. People can refer other lawyers to you, and then you get into a case and you deal with a judge who's never dealt with you before, or an opposing counsel who's never seen your stuff before, and you make one or two bad mistakes, and you've lost your credibility. So I think in terms of key mistakes that lawyers make, it's a simple fix. Take the time to proofread your work, and if you have even more time, have someone else proofread your work on things that are even more important. I like to print stuff out on briefs. I like to read them on the screen and then read them in paper, and oftentimes I like to take some time away. I'll write a brief, I'll go do something else, I'll come back to it. Depending on time constraints, sometimes I'll sit on it for a day or two and read it out loud.
Thanks for listening to the Alex Medina Law Podcast. Check back often for new episodes and follow along at alexmedinalaw.com.